Had to unmute. Okay. There I was, standing in the most prestigious comedy school on the planet, sobbing, and no words would come out. I started doing stand-up some years ago because I hate doing improv comedy. Improv is where you're on stage with a group of people and you have to improvise a scene with a topic suggestion given to you by the audience. Now, the most important thing to know about improv is the only rule is yes, and. Yes, you have to agree with all of the suggestions and what's going on in the scene, and you have to build onto it. When I was living in Los Angeles, I decided to take a class to help myself get out of my shell, because as long as I can remember, I've been really shy, so shy that I wouldn't even order my own food at a restaurant from the waiter. I probably should have taken like a night class taught by a high school drama teacher, or a weekend workshop at a community center to like get my feet wet. Instead, the first class that I found was a 6-week long course at a place called the Second City. For those of you who don't know, the Second City is where the best comedians on the planet have been discovered for Saturday Night Live. Notable alums include Steve Carell, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. My instructor had just done a Boost Mobile commercial. I was intimidated. And so I learned a $395 lesson. I am very bad at improv. On the first day of class, we went around and introduced ourselves like a fun fact. And so I was feeling nervous, but I was optimistic. I said, "Hi, my name is Liz, and I'm really shy." And that was the last normal thing I said in that class. Turns out, when it's my turn to improvise, I just start crying. Ugly, sobby, blubbery crying. If there's a scene where I have to be a table, I'm a crying table. If there's a scene where I have to be a lamp, I was a crying lamp. One scene was actually a funeral, so it kind of made sense that I was crying, so that one worked out. You know, I couldn't quit the class. I'd already paid $395, so and you know, I valued the legacy of the school, and I worked really hard to become more confident throughout the course of the class. And on the last class, we take everything we've learned and we put it together. And my instructor chose me to lead the scene. And it was terrible. It was so bad. I just stood there sobbing uncontrollably until the instructor politely picked another student to move the scene forward. Surprisingly, I did make some friends in that class, and a few of them went on to take the stand-up comedy class the next cycle. I didn't want that sobbing mess of a performance to be the end of my story with Second City, so I signed up for stand-up as well. Stand-up comedy is where you stand on a stage alone and you try to make drunk strangers laugh with hilarious things you tell them that you make seem like you thought of off the top of your head. Immediately, stand-up like registered differently. We learned joke composition and structure and formulas that made sense. But the biggest thing was that I was able to think about what I was going to say, try it in front of an audience, and then bring it back for refinement. And my teacher, she had announced to the class that at the end of the course, there was a graduation show, and the person who did the most open mics would earn the honor of the headlining spot at the graduation show. Now, I'm pretty shy, but I'm also pretty darn competitive. So even though I was terrified, I wanted that spot. And so at my first open mic, I knew that I couldn't back out because my friend Kim, who was already a working professional comic, took the night off to come sit at a grimy comedy club in North Hollywood with me. So when you know, she looked at me and she could tell that I was really nervous. She said, "It's fine. Nobody cares what you're going to say. They're all worried about their own sets," which didn't help, and she could tell. So she assured me it's a good thing. And, you know, she was so chill and like unserious about the whole thing. I wish I could be that way. but I was worried enough for the both of us. When the host called my name, my body felt so heavy. I had to force myself to stand up straight to walk. And once I got to the stage, it was an out-of-body experience as I recited what I had memorized for my first comedy set. Something about taking too much Plan B, I think. Who was this woman making people laugh with just her words? Excuse me. Who was this woman making people laugh with just her words? But once I left the stage, instead of celebrating, I felt physically deflated. I found a corner and I just collapsed into myself. I was shaky and exasperated and out of breath as my performance was like swirling around in my mind. And I was second guessing everything. But I had done it. And I kept doing it over and over again. And just 12 weeks after I went into the second city and started sobbing, I won the headlining spot at the graduation show. And even though I kind of crushed it, I still had a panic attack when I left the stage. Unfortunately, for a while, panic attacks were just part of the process for me. And I worked really hard at writing and practicing performing to build a routine that made me feel more comfortable. And 4 years later, I still have nerves when I get on stage, but I still have nerves when I get on stage, but I've pushed past the fear and I've taken control to own my voice.